Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast, live from the BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brack. We are here, beautiful Glendale, Arizona. Bo, it's just a couple months from now. It's going to be filled with Cardinal fans, but in the meantime, it's filled with PHNX faithful here enjoying a lovely Friday afternoon.
Absolutely. We got the Four Peaks flowing. It's delicious, but it's a bit of a tease, isn't it? I mean, we are months away from us occupying the sports book for game days out here. We're actually going to be out here week one. I mean, the Cardinals are going to be taking on Washington Commanders in that cesspool of a stadium in BFE, Maryland. But we're going to be here, and you should be here as well. We're going to be hanging out, eating the delicious food, drinking all the ice-cold beverages, and watching this team debut under Jonathan Gannon. And it's kind of interesting. We're trying to identify today this team's top 10 players entering the 2023 season. And like a Steve Keim draft class, you're trying to find talent, right? It's tough. You have to kind of look closely and figure out like who are the guys that are going to make an impact on a down-to-down basis for this Cardinals team. Does it go 10 deep? We made list as deep as 10, and we'll see.
I don't know if they're great players, but they're players. they're on NFL rosters, and they're available for you to
got uniforms and everything.
Yeah, that's right. I think before we get into our list, like if you would have made a consensus poll each of the last, I don't know, couple of years, it would have been like the big three and then everybody else, right? It would have been Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and Budda Baker in some way, shape, or form. And now you've subtracted DeAndre Hopkins in tune of no return, telling him to go away for upwards of $22 million. So Budda, Kyler, you put it in the tease today for today's show, Bo. It's like those are the top two. I think we can all agree on that. Those are the two. Budda's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Say what you want about Kyler Murray. He was the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's made the Pro Bowl twice coming off injury. He is still what I presume is a great player when he's healthy. And then there are a bunch of question marks. And those question marks, to your point, stem back to Steve Keim's inability to draft and develop. You'll see, at least from my list, is not too many homegrown guys. I think this is a list that probably would have included Byron Murphy, would have included Zach Allen should they have been re-signed. They go elsewhere this offseason. And then it's like, you look at these names that we're going to unveil here in a little bit, and it's like how many of these guys are not even going to be on the team next year? And I think there's I want to clarify something. There's a big difference between like the top 10 players on the roster right now today and like the Cardinals' top 10 like assets. Because spoiler alert, Paris Johnson Jr. is not on my list, but he's a top 10 asset. He's a top 5 asset. Frankly,
I've got probably a list 5 deep of guys who could be risers and easily on this list this time next year.
Okay.
But then you really have to take into account, like, who's going to make an impact, who's going to have the ability to make an impact.
Yeah.
And as much as we know about Paris Johnson Jr., and he's been occupying the right tackle spot for the bulk of OTAs, you just don't know yet. I mean, is he going to make the transition from the Big Ten? Obviously, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, he's got the pedigree. So you are cautiously optimistic about Monty Ossenfort's first pick as Cardinals general manager, but I don't think anybody's going to go out there and say, without a shadow of a doubt, Paris Johnson Jr. is a top 10 guy right now. And I think that's at least a bit of a testament to guys who have played in this league already.
Yeah, and they've got a deep tackle group. When's the last time you've been able to say that? And I also feel like Bo Brack, like next year, Paris needs to be in this group, and I think he will be. I'd love to be able to look back on this list in October, November, and say, like, yeah, this is no-brainer. Paris Johnson
I think you
Jr.
need 2 of your guys from your draft class to be on this list. I think B.J. Ojulari needs to crack this list.
That'd be interesting.
Wow, is he on your list?
He's not.
Okay.
But that pass rush, I would say they're entering 2, let's call them crowded position groups, B.J. Ojulari and Paris Johnson Jr., that I think they're more talented at tackle based on veteran experience, and Josh Jones, I think, could pop this year. B.J. Ojulari is going to be behind the 8 ball, in my opinion, not only because he's missing some time right now, but because Zaven Collins forcing his way on the field, and Cameron Thomas and Myjai Sanders both have a year in the NFL over him. So I probably pump my brakes in terms of being as not excited. I'm still excited for B.J. Ojulari, but I like the immediate impact that I thought we were going to get from him. Now that Zaven is a full-time defensive end outside linebacker, I think we need to caution everybody who thought, including myself, that BJ was going to be a day one starter.
Yeah, I've got one pass rusher on my list, and it doesn't include Ojulari, and it doesn't include Zaven Collins.
Okay.
Do you know who it is?
I don't.
Okay. So that's good. And when you look at
Is it good? I want to know the players. I can't name them.
Yeah. Make sure it's good. Also, more good things. Hit the like button on this video. Of course, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube.
Yeah.
Boston Fort, we see you. Let's go. Gary Coker from the Toon Club. That's not a bad nickname for the BetMGM Sportsbook. The Toon Club. Clayton Toon, of course, out
Is he
there.
on your list?
Clayton Toon did not make the cut, even
Gotcha.
though it was not a deep pool to grab from. So,
Yeah.
should without delaying any longer, should we get into our top 10 list?
I would love for you to go first.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it. Should I go 10 down? All right, so we're just gonna release it. We're gonna tear the Band-Aid off. Producer Emma.
Yeah.
So number 1, Budda Baker. I don't think that there's any argument. Budda Baker, when he's on this roster, when he's gonna show up, and he told Cam Cox of 12 News that he's going to be a mandatory minicamp. He's gonna let his representation take care of all the stuff going on off the field. Budda Baker's still an Arizona Cardinal. He's still number 1 on this team, number 1 in our hearts. We've got Kyler Murray 2. I don't think that you can deny that Kyler Murray, when healthy, he is as talented as they get. He's the franchise quarterback. He's got the stats. He's got the contract to back that up. And then number 3, I think that this is where it gets a little interesting. Jalen Thompson, for me, is the 3rd best player on this Arizona Cardinals team.
Wow.
I think that he is close to Budda Baker as far as how productive he is from the safety position. I think if you look at the overall numbers, he probably had a down year, but he also was doing that because they had basically 0 pass rush outside of J.J. Watt and Zach Allen. And he was put in a tough spot. They didn't have any depth at the cornerback position, and Jalen Thompson was put kind of on an island at times, and it was a little bit unfair. And he's in great shape. We talked to him yesterday, continues to put in work in the lab, and he's an absolute monster, and he's poised for a breakout year. I think he's your 3rd best player. James Conner, the running back, leader in the locker room. When healthy, he is uber productive.
Yep.
I think he's one of their better players out there on the playing field. Do we have any issues so far?
No, I don't have any issues with your top 5.
Okay, and then Marquise Hollywood Brown rounds out my top 5. Now, when you start to look at this 6th, this is where it gets interesting. This is where you really are picking from a little bit of murky waters as far as definitively, are these guys impact makers? Are they solid players? I've got Isaiah Simmons 6th.
Okay. That's look. If you look at his box score from last year, if you just took a novice NFL fan, and said,
you calling me a casual?
No, I'm gonna back you and Isaiah up here. It's like if you took like my uncle who doesn't follow the Cardinals religiously and said, "Hey, Uncle Doug, look at Isaiah Simmons' stats. What do you think?" He'd be like, "Yeah, that's a nice player on a team that's not very good."
Mm-hmm.
So I have no issue with that.
I still feel like that's a backhanded compliment, don't you? Like, really?
I've got issues with a
Is
couple
he
of
pouring
these.
it on that thick, Emma? It feels like it.
I'm with you, Bo. Was not expecting him to say that.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit! All right.
Did you guys work some things out? Because Isaiah Simmons was he was sharing our story on his story.
Was
Is that
he?
why? Yeah.
No, that's good to hear though. Thanks, Isaiah.
Yeah, Chris Boyd, Greg Dortch, Isaiah Simmons, they were all shouting out PHNX Cardinals on IG.
They just love us so much,
They
Isaiah. It feels like an arm stretch away from State Farm Stadium, and we're gonna manifest Isaiah Simmons PHNX Cardinals during the season. We're gonna be so close to just having him walk over here and be on the show.
Yeah.
We're going to manifest
Telling
it.
us to F off
Yeah.
and see ya. I'm been traded at the deadline. All right, let's put that back up. So I've got Isaiah Simmons 6. He made a bunch of game-changing and potential game-changing plays last year. He still has the ability. When you look at, I really get this sense, and even though he's only going to have 1 year potentially under this coaching staff, that the previous coaching staff barely scratched the surface, didn't know what they were doing with it, right?
Yeah.
I think that Isaiah Simmons has very high potential with this team. So I've got him 6. Now, I see Tyler Simmons saying, Beachum over Jones for consistency. So I had Josh Jones. This is my only tackle in my top 10. Josh Jones, when you look at it and how he performed down the stretch, filling in for DJ Humphries, who's still dealing with the back, even though Beachum was consistent as far as he gets the attendance award, as far as the impact he was making and how he was holding off edge rushers and defenders and opening up rush lanes. I think Josh Jones was a better run blocker than any of the other tackles out there. I think Josh Jones is emerging and quickly becoming one of their more reliable tackles, and I think he's going to push the envelope as far as starting this season at left tackle for the Arizona Cardinals.
Wow, that is shocking to hear. But, Bo, you're at practice, you're at OTAs every day, and you have told me for the better part of a month Josh Jones is the left tackle right now. Does he hold on to that job when Humphreys comes back, when Beachum comes back? Do they kick Paris to the left side? Listen, you're speaking to the choir. I would love to go into the season Josh Jones and Paris Johnson Jr. For me, having him cemented as a top 10 player, I mean, I would love to be wrong on this. I can't see the rationale yet because he's a backup.
It was close between DJ and Josh Jones, but DJ is still dealing with a back. And I know we've got Kyler on this list, and he's dealing with the ACL injury, right?
Yeah.
But I think when you're looking at DJ Humphreys and his where he wasn't available the last 2 seasons, like at the end of 2021, he was bad at the end of the season, and then he wasn't available at the end of last season. So I think Jones being available gives him the slight edge, and we just don't know. I mean, I feel like we know more about a timeline more with Kyler than we do with DJ Humphreys, because the ACL surgery and rehab have become even more routine, and we haven't figured out the back yet. So I've got Josh Jones. This one, Marco Wilson at 8. I did some digging. In Marco Wilson at the end of last season, the last games he played from like week 9 on, he was solid. He was a solid corner for this team. In the absence of Byron Murphy Jr., who was also dealing with a back, I thought Marco Wilson emerged and played really good football for this team. I think he's easily in the top 10 in the Arizona Cardinals right now.
People push back on this. I think he was the better corner last year when you take in consideration health over Byron Murphy. And health has never been an issue for Marco. And Marco, unlike Byron Murphy, is a true outside corner. You think about some of the statistics he put up. You talked about Jalen Thompson having a down year with no pass rush for this team. How about what Marco Wilson did without a pass rush? You think about the fantastic pick 6 against New Orleans, right? The jumping over the pylon. I'm a big Marco Wilson fan. I think that you get another cornerback at some point. I think you're going to be in better shape. But I think he's one player we need to look at, assuming he pops under JG, who's a cornerback, defensive back savant, as somebody who could be a sneaky extension candidate, because his skill set is elite, and I'll repeat that, it's an elite skill set. I think he's been undercoached, and I also think he's so young. I think he came into the NFL like 20, 21 years old. His best football is ahead of him. I'm a big Marco Wilson fan. I have no issue with that.
Yeah, I've got Cameron Thomas 9th. That's my edge rusher for the group, but I've got some guys with upside, and Zaven Collins and Majay Sanders and BJ Ujulari who could certainly make their way onto this list by this time next year. But right now I've got Cameron Thomas as a guy who's going to be he's got less question marks than the other guys. And I think that he was obviously he was kind of a victim to last year's coaching staff. He should have been playing significant snaps at the end of that thing. I think as far as versatility that you want, as far as pass rushing and slowing down rushing attacks, I think Cameron Thomas, as far as what you want and can do it all type pass rusher, defensive end, outside linebacker, pass rusher, I think Cameron Thomas can do that for you. And then I'm going to round out my top 10 with what you would call, the marquee free agent addition to this team, relative to this team, Kazir White, because I think Kazir White's going to play a heavy amount of snaps for this team. I think that he played very well, knew his role very well for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. I think he's a top 10 player for the Cardinals right now, but better look out. Like, I think that he's just people are going to overtake him that are more talented football players, just more talented athletes overall, but he's good at what he does.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. Your list, solid.
Yeah.
Okay, I got some different names on mine. I'm going to tell you what those are, but first of all, I'm going to tell you, if you haven't come down to BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn State Farm Stadium, what are you waiting for? We are so fired up to welcome everybody for tonight's Cornhole League. It's going to be a blast. You guys already know we're going to be hanging out here all fall long, every single Sunday. But in the meantime, first Fridays, May through August, you're looking at one live right now. It's a banner time here at BetMGM Sportsbook. And then every single game day this fall, not just home games, not away games, doubling down on both. 17 weeks, Bo Brack and I are going to be here broadcasting live. I'm talking pre-shows, halftime shows, post-game shows for your Arizona Cardinals. It's going to be your premier game day event. We're going to do it every single Sunday with our friends at BetMGM. If you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use that bonus code PHNX. Now, there's a few different options depending on where you live. For our Arizona folks in particular, you're going to get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you're using that sweet, sweet bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to our guy, Shane Diefenbach. He's going to multitask. He's playing bags, but he's also going to tell you about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
The BetMGM Sportsbook out here at State Farm Stadium, synonymous with Glendale, now going to become more synonymous with the state of Arizona. People are going to come here and want to hang out at the Sportsbook, especially on game days with us, but also synonymous with our great state. OG's brand, our OG's brands, our original cannabis kitchen, as they continue to cook up all the delicious and great gummies out there that you can tailor to whatever type of mood you're in or whatever maybe event you might going to. It's creating experiences just like being a part of this great PHNX family. We're so proud to be partnered up with our friends over at OG's Brands. They've got unbelievable just amount of different flavors and products that you have to check out at ogsbrands.com. Follow them on all your socials as well, at OG's Brands. That's OGEEZ Brands. Someone you know could be using OGs. They make a great gift to people, great stocking stuffers around the holidays. You got to get in on this. Check them out at your local dispensary. Like their Sleep Edition, they got the aquaberry there for the flavor. It's delicious, but it also puts you to sleep, keeps you asleep. And now they got the mixed bags that you can take advantage of. You got the fruits and the creams. You got the watermelons, the peaches mixed with the blackberries and creams, orange creamsicles, and the pink lemonade is dropping this month. You're less than 20 days away from Pink Lemonade dropping. You got to check it out. Got to be 21 years or older, but of course, you can check out all their great products, ogsbrands.com.
Some interesting comments in the chat. You guys are crushing it per usual. In the meantime, like this video. Adam Hurley, I would have one rule if I was a GM. Never get rid of your good players. It's about winning. Dropping Hopkins was stupid AF. Hey, my man, you're speaking to the choir. You never want to be in a position to do that. My only pushback is like, the Cardinals, this regime didn't give Hopkins that contract, and nobody in the NFL wanted to pay DeAndre Hopkins that amount of money. And then you double down with the fact that a lot of people, including Albert Breer, friend of the program, is saying that DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a rude awakening in free agency. Like, is his market going to be incentive-laden, maybe an $8 to $10 million deal? That would be interesting to see. So, you know, I would love to be able to put DeAndre Hopkins on my top 10 list. He does not have a spot because he's not on the team anymore.
What about this? Rhett Brown. Love these two. Best duo in sports broadcasting.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Rhett. That's fantastic. You just love to see that. Can we just can we take that comment, put it everywhere on every social platform that we have, please? I think producer Emma would be happy to do that for us. All right, I'm happy to debut my top 10 Arizona Cardinals heading into 2023. Different but the same as Bo Brock. You be the judge. So here it is. Here's what I got going on. So same top 5, different order. Of course, Budda Baker is the coup de grace, number 1 overall player. He's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Bo Brock. What's more can you say? That's why it's frustrating when people like trade Budda Baker and you can get a 3rd or a 4th round pick. He's the best player on the team. Yeah. He means more to the Arizona Cardinals than he does for 31 other teams. And I want to be able to be in attendance one day when that man has his number 3 retired into the rafters. He makes the Hall of Fame. He makes the Ring of Honor. Budda Baker should be a Cardinal for life. Give that man an extension. Give him more guaranteed money. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but right now I think he's going to show up in 2 weeks at mandatory camp, Bo, and I think he's going to be on the 2023 Cardinal roster, so that's why he's on my list. Number 2, of course, Kyler Murray. Same top 2 as Bo Brock. Kyler Murray, I think in any other given year, if he's healthy coming off a good year, he's number 1 just because of his importance to the club. But we don't know if we're going to see him in September, October, November. But when Kyler Murray is playing, Chris Sims had him 19th overall going into the season. I disagree.
For quarterbacks?
For quarterbacks.
Okay.
I would tell you right now, if Kyler Murray's healthy coming into the season, especially in the dismal NFC trash heap, Kyler Murray plays 17 games, this team goes to the postseason. Book it. So, again, I'm not ready to sell all my K1 stock for Caleb Williams just yet. If we get Kyler Murray for 12 games this year, look out. Hollywood Brown is number 3. You had Jalen Thompson number 3, which I respect, and I would prefer, honestly, because he's a homegrown player. Mm-hmm. Hollywood Brown was a first-round pick. The Cardinals traded a first-round pick for Hollywood Brown, and I think Hollywood Brown has a chance to eclipse 1,000 yards receiving this season. I think he's going to come in best shape of his life. Best shape of his life.
He better.
Well, listen, look what we're dealing with here. If you got a 1,000-yard receiver on this team, he's a top 5 player for me. He's a top 3 player for me.
Good point.
And I think Hollywood Brown, at the end of the day, We talked about Marco Wilson earlier. I'm going to get to Marco. I think he is worthy of an extension after this year. Will they give it to him? We'll see. But Hollywood's come and done everything you asked for this offseason. Gannon's presser. He's been at every single OTA. This guy wants to be paid. He wants to stay in Arizona, Bo Brack.
Yeah, absolutely. And making $13 million right now, and then he's got to bet on himself.
Yeah.
And he has to show up, and it's going to take him making plays that might not even be there, potentially from backup quarterbacks throwing in the football for maybe a potential prolonged time. We'll see with Hollywood Brown, but I don't disagree with this, except for the fact that I think JT makes more of probably will make more of an impact just because he's not going to be handcuffed by another player having to be successful for him to be successful.
JT's going to play in a secondary with my number 8 best player and Budda Baker, my number 1 best player, whereas Hollywood Brown is the undisputed number 1 receiver for this team. Number 4 is James Conner. Again, Bo, I think you had him number 4 or 5, which I don't disagree with. I think James Conner, the heart and soul of the offense right now, is somebody that can score touchdowns in bunches. Everybody wants to talk about James Conner on a bad team last year, having a down year. He still averaged over 4 yards per carry. Yeah. He's still under 30 years old. I think the Cardinals have one more good season left from James Conner, and he'll be solidified. If he can get close to 1,000 yards this year, Bo Brack, it'll be known as one of the best free agent signings in recent memory for this team. You talk about what he does for the Cardinals on and off the field. Of course, the monstrous 2021 season last year, kind of up and down. I still think they'd be best served to get an heir apparent replacement or somebody to take about 30% of the touches, but they're not doing that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Keontae Ingram, if that's your fancy, but right now, in a team that's going to have an uptick in their rushing production, James Conner's poised for a big year.
I mean, back-to-back years over 1,000 scrimmage yards, right? I mean, pretty similar outside of the gaudy touchdown numbers that he had his first year as an Arizona Cardinals running back. He had 18 total tutties.
Yeah.
Last year he had, 8 total touchdowns?
Yeah.
So significant drop, right? But still productive when he was healthy, played 13 games. And he's a guy that's kind of taking on the load as they kind of change. It's a changing of the guard as far as leadership, and he's taking that on, and that's important for this Cardinals, especially on the offensive side of the football, to get. I like what JC's bringing to the table.
Yeah, and we talked about it ad nauseum during draft season. Oh, you got to get an heir apparent. They didn't. They said, we have full confidence in James Conner. That's why he's 4th overall. And then rounding out the top 5, Jalen Thompson, who, again, if he's going to play his best football, it's going to be under Jonathan Gannon. And you're right. He had a down year last year. His statistics were moderate. I mean, if you look at Isaiah Simmons had better statistics than Jalen Thompson despite playing probably 30% less on the field. But I'm bullish on this young man. He got his extension. I do think that we're entering the Jalen Thompson 2.0 years as an Arizona Cardinal. And regardless of what happens with Budda Baker post-2023, this is going to be, along with Marco Wilson, I think the centerpiece of your secondary.
Yeah. Back-to-back years, over 100 total tackles. Yeah, obviously you don't want your safeties making too many tackles.
No.
And that's unfortunate that him and Budda are having to throw themselves around as much as they do. But you'd like to see him get his hands on the football a little bit more. But that duo, man, it continues to be a strength of this roster that's short on strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, Bo and I have almost identical top 5s in terms of they are identical in terms of names, but couple switches 3 through 5, and then we get to kind of the nitty-gritty here. And, again, I've dogged this player for the better part of the last 3 months because his inability to stay healthy. But, like, DJ Humphries, when he's up and running, is their most polished offensive tackle. He had a PFF grade almost 70 last year, maybe 74. So he's got the name, he's got the experience, and I do think if they were to trade him, like there would be a market for DJ Humphries. And to push back on you, like Josh Jones, I think I like Josh Jones in the future, but like as of today, he's a backup. Whereas DJ Humphries, assuming he can get on the field, God love him, number 74, like he's a starting left tackle. And he's one that's been with this franchise since 2015. So until he's been removed from the starting lineup or the roster, I think he's a top 10 player. Now, do I love that he's in the training room every day? No. Do I love the fact that, as you mentioned, he's been inconsistent, he's had penalties, he's been smoked by some of the elite pass rushers? No, that's why you go out and get a Paris Johnson Jr., 6 overall, who's the heir apparent to DJ Humphries. But right now, today, on June 2nd in 2023, DJ Humphries is a top 10 player by default, Bo.
That's fair. And when we looked at Pro Football Focus, which kind of got this conversation going, they do the top 3 players, right? And they had DJ Humphries as a fringe top 3 player.
There you go.
So, I can't disagree with it, but obviously a lot comes into play age and availability. And unfortunately, he hasn't been there. But maybe they're just I haven't seen him in OTAs outside of working out on the side with all the rest of the injured players. Like, if he can get back, if he can be, at 100%, yeah, he is a top 10 player on this team. I'm skeptical at this point if he's going to get back there.
He's entering a contract year. They took all of his guaranteed money and said, we're going to give that to you in 2023, DJ, because we want our options open for next year. And, people on Twitter are saying, no, they're going to keep him. Maybe they are. Maybe Paris Johnson Jr. is the right tackle of the future, but I'd rather see Josh Jones. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Marco Wilson. You know how I feel about him. Let's start with Isaiah Simmons, though. 8th overall for the Arizona Cardinals. And I was doing my top 10 list, and initially he wasn't in the list. And I'm like, that can't be right. So as much as I've dogged on this player and his projection, just because I don't love where he was drafted and the fact he's positionless entering year 4 does not mean that his impact was not felt by this team. It was, of course, the Vegas Raiders win in overtime, right? He's made game-changing plays for this team. He just doesn't have a position. And if there's one person, again, I sound like a broken record, to unlock Isaiah Simmons, it's Jonathan Gannon. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen this year. So I would love to be proven wrong, eat a bunch of crow, but I know there's also a problem with how this team is made up. The top 10 players, there's 3 safeties on this list.
Yeah.
That's a problem, right? There is no elite defensive tackle. There is no elite pass rusher, in my opinion, right now. So you've got 3 safeties that all can be varying degrees of good to elite, but that doesn't help a team that's projected to win, I don't know, 4.5 games next year, Bo Brock.
Yeah, I mean, as far as when you look at the premium positions, that's why they don't include that position, because its impact at the back end of the defense. If guys are consistently having to make plays for you, it's not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and Isaiah Simmons needs to kind of figure out, how can he get back to where he's playing kind of downhill like he did at Clemson, right? Where he is making his impact at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, even though he's playing on the back end. So it's going to be tough. But to your point, as far as Gannon, Rollis, he's going to be in obviously the motivation and the chip. Stop me if you've heard this before. An Arizona Cardinals player or coach has a chip on their shoulder. Isaiah Simmons certainly is going to be one of those guys after they declined his 5th-year option and going into the 4th and final year of his rookie deal. So this is really interesting how you finish your round out your top 10.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways I went about this. Number one, we did a little projecting. You did projecting with Cameron Thomas. I'm doing projecting with number 10, but I'm also paying homage to number 9, which is Zach Ertz. And I think Zach Ertz, had he not torn his ACL last year, would have had the best single season of a tight end in franchise history. He would have. By default, he would have.
Yeah.
And we met with him.
Tough.
No, but again, look at the team we're dealing with right now. There's a lot of tough going on. It's tough to rank the top 10 players, frankly. And we met with Zach Ertz during Super Bowl week. And by all accounts, he's on schedule to return right around the start of the season. So I think we're going to get 15, 16 games of Zach Ertz, and that's somebody that in this Drew Petzing offense, we've talked about it ad nauseum, you have to have size. You have to have an ability to go up and get the football. And now that they've subtracted another, I don't want to call Hopkins big body, but he's over 6 foot, they're going to rely on their tight end. So I've got Ertz and Trey McBride, the golden child, 10th overall, and I think we're going to enter, this is my big, bold prediction, we're going to enter 2024. Trey McBride is going to be a top 5 player on this team. We're going to lose a couple. We're going to lose a couple players to cuts or free agency. We're going to look back. Trey McBride is going to be a top 5 player on the Arizona Cardinals in 2024, entering next season. Book it from your boy.
You are officially McBride or die.
50 to 60 catches this year.
Wow!
Did you see how many targets he got at the end of the year?
With David Blau throwing him the football, that is bold.
Trey McBride, from his days at Colorado State, knows how to be productive on a bad team. He knows how to get targets in bunches.
And I had my could be on the rise. You've got McBride already cracking the top 10, and you think he's got top 5 potential. I got some names here. Paris Johnson Jr., we mentioned that.
Yep.
Zaven Collins, depending on what he does with this potential pass rush role.
Yep.
B.J. Ujulari. I had McBride on my on the rise list, and then Rondell Moore.
Get out of here with that.
Why?
Right? That's
because I think people become infatuated when you see Rondell Moore on the practice field. You become infatuated by his skill set.
That's the injury report burned in your brain.
Look, I understand. That's part of this. That's why he's not in the top 10.
Rondell Moore was already a niche player coming into the NFL because of his size, right? But people are like, Steve Smith, that time is over. That time is over. I think if you can just get through Rondell's contract and have him be a productive piece, that's a win. I don't know how you don't say Greg Dortch over Rondell Moore. I'm with you, though, on Zaven Collins. Zaven Collins was like 11th or 12th for me because, again, I don't want to hold it against him. He had a nice year. He played a lot of snaps last year, had some takeaways, had a bunch of tackles, and I think he's going to end this
He's not
year
even playing that position any longer.
I know, so it's tough for me to be like, that's a top 10. But he's going to play
the stuff
a
I was
lot.
seeing out there on the practice field yesterday, like he's out there. It's like if you're getting swimming lessons, like it's beginner swimming.
That's
lessons.
tough
Like
to
he's
say
hanging onto the side of the pool for the most part. Like it's not good.
Yeah.
So like to say, hey, he's going to hit the ground running. Like not to say like it's impossible to go from off-ball linebacker to pass rusher. We've seen it. Like we saw it successfully done with Hassan Reddick, and he's an absolute beast now at the NFL level. But there has some work to be done for Zaven Collins to reach that level, and to say he's top 10 now, going from that position to a brand new position, I think would be a little naive.
Yeah, Kazir White's another name that I probably should have put on here. But again, I think we feel good. The top 5 are who they are.
Free matter for the blind strip fumble. Talking about Isaiah Simmons, who we both had on there. He was talking about the strip fumble he had was huge.
Yeah.
It was great. Goal line stop was awesome. I think he's either talking about the one he had in Tennessee against Derrick Henry or the one that he had against the 49ers and Trey Lance, both phenomenal. We'll talk about Clayton Tune if you want to a little bit later here. Adam Hurley, he's definitely not in the top 10 conversation. Free matter for the blind saying Cam Thomas is a great year after showing signs at the end last season. Jordan P. saying Josh Jones, definitely better than McBride. Thank you for agreeing with me. And also saying Michael Wilson, he's on the rise list as well.
There's no right or wrong answer with these young players. I think there's a group of about 7 to 10 guys where it's like mix and match. I mean, Myjai Sanders had really good stretches last year, and he's like an afterthought right now.
Yeah.
So they're going to be coached better than they've been coached before. That's not a news flash. But the top 5 guys, Connor, Hollywood, Jalen, Budda, Kyler, like those are the solidified leaders of your locker room. And then I think there's a bunch of touch and go scenarios that starts and ends with Isaiah Simmons. I mean, Isaiah Simmons, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. If he goes out and has a Pro Bowl year, it's like, you got to make a decision. Franchise tag, extension, or do you let the former 8th overall pick walk in free agency? Speaking of walking, I've been walking over to Circle K right next to my crib in Maricopa whenever I need my iced coffee. As I was leaving town today to make the hike up to Glendale. Yeah, my crib. I was doing the double Polar Pops. They're in my car. I'll show you the receipts. I get the unsweetened iced tea. We're so fired up to be partnering with our friends at Circle K. Check out your local Circle K. Best coffee, snack, beer selection, premium gas at not a premium price. I've been stopping at Circle K as long as I can remember. You can too, and this is the best part. Make sure you're not missing out on all the great stuff that Circle K has to offer right now. All you got to do, text PHNX. Take out your smartphone device, whatever it may be. Text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club. Get a buy one, get one free 32-ounce Polar Pop. Whatever it is, I'm trying to lay off the sugar. I do the unsweetened iced tea. You do you. But do this. Head to CircleK.com/store-locator. That's CircleK.com/store-locator to find the nearest Circle K to you.
You've got a couple titles to be won in a couple pro sports leagues like the NBA, the NHL. You got the D-backs. They're heating up on the diamond. You don't want to miss out on any of that action. And the way to avoid that, because I experienced this firsthand where streaming service just dropped out in a pivotal NBA playoff game.
Wow.
I said, I'm done with this. And I made the switch over to Fubo TV, and you should do the same for yourself because you're going to get the most consistent and most elite streaming service you could possibly get for a great price. 140 plus live channels of sports, shows, movies, and news. Stream live TV from any device. If you're somebody that has to travel for work or you're hitting the road, getting out of town, getting out of the heat this summer, but you want to keep tabs on what's going on, maybe local news or with your local teams, continue to watch the Snakes, do it with Fubo TV and go to FuboTV.com/PHNX to get in on this. You're not going to miss out on the NHL draft on ESPN, the NBA Finals on ABC, D-backs as they stand right now still on Bally Sports, so you can get that on Fubo TV. Check it out. You got the Diamondbacks heating up. Use the link in the description. Sign up. Get that 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro by by just going to FuboTV.com/PHNX. That's FuboTV.com/PHNX.
You know, I've been dabbling on our friends at BetMGM, and right now, unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals, this is not a shot at BetMGM. This is every sports book that you can find. They're an underdog in every single game. Right now, Washington is ballooned up to a 6-point favorite week 1. And then you look at the Giants +4 against the Cardinals. Cowboys, Cardinals are +7. Niners +10. That's just the first month of the season. And then you've got some tasty money lines. Everyone outside of the Giants game is over +200. So, Bo,
the Cardinals on average are 6-point dogs for the season.
In every game?
Every game.
What's the best odds that they have right now? Giants at +4?
The best one, +1.5. They host the Rams in Week 12.
I like that.
+2 against the Falcons in Week 10.
Okay.
+3 against the Texans in Week 11. But outside of that, Giants Week 2, that's +4. Seattle, the regular season finale, it's +4. But everything else is like it's almost a touchdown and more.
What about that Philly line?
Ooh, that Philly line. That's actually like, do you get in now because it's such a high line at +11.5, or is it?
Or could it get worse?
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple games.
Kyler Murray's playing that game, right?
There are a couple games on the schedule, like Chicago +6, Week 16.
Yeah.
Like Kyler would probably be back
against the Rams,
the,
+4.5.
The Bears at week 16,
16.
+6. That seems like it'd be good money. Week 9 against Cleveland, they're +8, depending on whether or not they get D-Hop.
That's a big line for Cleveland.
But it begs the question, right? I mean, when you look at these, so with betting, it's perfect. It's like, are they going to win these games? That's tough to say with where their roster is now. But are they going to cover? Like, can you make money more by betting in taking the points for the Cardinals this season, or would you take the opponent in all these games and do you make more money?
I love my guy, Free Matter for the Blind. Another 7-0 start would really hit the spot. You might be waiting for that spot to be hit for quite some time, my man. I love the optimism. Jordan P. in the chat, question for Bo and Johnny. Is Michael Wilson the best overall route runner on the team with D-Hop gone? That's asking a lot for a rookie that hasn't played in the NFL. But, listen, every year we hear about players that are popping at Cards Camp, and some guys come to fruition and produce, and others don't. I would still say the best true route runner is probably Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, Hollywood and Rondell are pretty good.
Yeah.
They are pretty good when they're healthy. Rondell's the latter. That's obviously the when we're talking about staying healthy and getting out of the trainer's room. So, but he's close. And I mean, from Jim Nagy, who runs the Senior Bowl, who is a big fan of Michael Wilson, he continues to that as far as he was a guy that was tremendously underrated going into this draft, and that the Cardinals got a steal there. To TJ Hushmanzada, who was one of his mentors, who maintains he was a steal. You're hearing it from not just us, not just people kind of homering on him. It's a lot of outside noise about good outside noise about Michael Wilson. He looks solid. He does. Like from a novice person watching somebody run routes, it looks different.
Well, listen, like I didn't love the pick when it happened, and we were shocked by it. But he's a top 100 pick, and when you use a top 100 pick, you expect that player to eventually become a starter. And if you're a starting wide receiver, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, you need to produce 500, 600, 700 yards on average. And they're saying that. He never consistently did that at the collegiate level, which they are trying to buck the trend with his injury history. But I at least take a shot on a guy who played in the Power 5 conference, albeit the Pac-12, and a guy who's 6'2", 200 pounds. I mean, his Senior Bowl highlights, go check them out on YouTube after this show's over. They are borderline elite. Not too many guys could hang with him that weekend in Mobile.
Made a lot of toast in Mobile.
Yes. DarkCon1 Gaming, thank you so much. $5 super chat. Love you guys. Love you back. Love what y'all are doing. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. We love to be able to do it and here with our friends at BetMGM. But, I mean, the Michael Wilson hype is real.
It is real. And I remember Adam asking about Clayton Tune, and I recommend you go check out yesterday's episode of PHNX Cardinals. We went Clayton Tune heavy with David Blau missing from OTAs yesterday. He was the quarterback, the second quarterback. He was the backup to Colt McCoy. He was QB2 yesterday, and I think that's a spot that the Arizona Cardinals probably want Clayton Tune to outright win.
Yeah.
It would only benefit this roster to have Kyler Murray's backup quarterback in the fold and come from the 2023 draft. But let's look at this. Weeks 1 through 18, the 17-game slate for the Arizona Cardinals that we've said they're dogs in each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Week 1, +6. Are you taking the points or are you taking the Commanders at home?
I'm taking the money line. I'm taking the Arizona
You're
Cardinals.
going Cardinals money line.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. So you think
+6, yes.
All right, so you're taking the Cardinals there. At home, 4-point dogs against Daniel Jones and the G-Men.
I'll take the Giants. That's in Arizona?
Yeah.
I'll take Cardinals
It's the
+4.
home opener.
Yeah, +4 Cardinals.
Jonathan Gannon's home opener. Okay, I don't disagree with that. Week 3, you're back at home. You got a 7-point. You're a 7-point dog against Dak and the Cowgirls.
I'll go Dallas +7 in that game. They're just too talented. The Cardinals are going to have a tough time with their defense. Dan Quinn's fantastic. Cardinals wanted him as their head coach potentially, depending on who you ask. CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb should be an Arizona Cardinal, but he's a Dallas Cowboy. Gosh darn it. So, yeah, we're going to go Dallas -7.
Easy with the language here.
God
This is
bless
a
it.
family place.
It is.
Gosh,
I'm going to be swearing so much here when I'm losing so much money on game days this Sunday with this man to my right, Shane Diefenbach. He's going to talk me into so many gross parlays.
You guys are
going
to be chasing it. You're going to be sweating out just some gnarly
Here he
parlays.
comes. Here he comes.
Hear me out, folks. Tyler Algier
Oh, boy.
parlayed with Bijan Robinson anytime touchdown,
Okay.
and then a little bit of a sprinkle on Geno Smith first touchdown plus 2,800. Book it. Also, one thing
Man,
available.
sick.
One thing available at BetMGM.
Yeah.
I lost a parlay, but I had parlay bet insurance. Got $50 back through it on Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year, plus 1,200 at BetMGM right now.
Wow. Look at that. Just off the cuff, just value picks out the wazoo.
He is a specimen in so many different ways.
All right, so this is where it gets a little disgusting. Okay, week 4,
I like gross.
you're on the road.
Yeah.
You're playing at that gross Levi's turf up in Santa Clara. This is the biggest spread to at this point in the schedule. 10.5.
I
Niners.
Just,
It was ugly last year.
Well, you're gonna get the Niners. You're gonna get them early in terms of knocking them off. I don't think they're gonna knock them off. Cards +10 though. Plus 10.5. I watched Atlanta rough off San Francisco and beat them in Atlanta. And who's to say Brock Purdy's even healthy by then? Give me a dose of Trey Lance, baby. Trey Lance pick sixes. You know it's coming.
It's
Bust.
very possible. Is it? Are you facing Sam Darnold at that point?
Ooh, injected.
So right now it looks like we're 2-2 for the most part.
We're the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, we're 2-2 as far as are we taking the Cardinals? Are we in the points? Are we taking their opponents? Cincy plus 7.5 coming to Glendale, playing at State Farm Stadium. That's a tough one.
It is tough. I'll go Cincinnati.
Yeah,
plus
I'll take the
7.5.
Bengals. How about
Minus
Week
7.5.
6 on the road in Los Angeles against the Rams plus 4.5? Give me the I'll take the. I'll be bold and go money line Cardinals there.
Win.
Seattle plus 7.5 on the road up there in the Pacific Northwest.
Does Seattle blow people out though? They play close game. Oh, Shane, get out of here. Okay, fine. Seattle minus 7.5 is fine.
That's a big spread. That's a big.
Their
spread.
roster's pretty good because they had all those picks because they housed the Broncos with Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Baltimore plus 6.5 here in Glendale.
Man, that's a game I think the Cardinals will surprise people and be competitive.
This is where you enter. Could Kyler be back? Waters.
And also, will the light start to come on for the JG guys finally learning the defense and feeling good in their roles? I'm going to say Cardinals plus 6.5 in that game.
All right, this is a slam dunk. You take the Cardinals plus 8 against the Browns.
Money line. You go back to JG's.
Is that a bet you make right now?
Yeah, I think so.
You take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, JG's home state in Cleveland, Ohio. I think Gannon goes into with Drew Petzing and company. They go into Cleveland. They beat Deshaun Watson.
Falcons plus 2 here at State Farm.
God, the Cardinals aren't even a favorite at home against Atlanta. That's so gross.
I mean,
that's one of the grossest
Is it Taylor
things
Heineke at that point in the season for Atlanta?
Yeah, Desmond Ridder. He wanted to lose so bad to David Blau last year. You all watched it. You got it done for us, though. We got us that Paris Johnson pick, baby.
Another winnable game. This is the potential top pick bowl. Houston Texans plus 3 at home hosting the Arizona Cardinals.
We can just smoke a big fat cigar that day because there's no losing for the
Nobody
Cardinals.
loses.
Nobody loses.
No. Unless you put the wrong bet down.
That's true. I'll go Houston plus 3 just because I think D'Amico Ryans has the Cardinals number right now.
Okay. How about the Rams plus 1.5? They come to town, take on the Cards in Week 12.
I mean, at that point, is Stafford and Donald, are they going to be retired? Is Cooper Kupp traded? I mean, are they
So I
blowing it
mentioned
up?
earlier in the show, because we were talking about the top 10 Cardinals. They did the top 3 Cardinals on Pro Football Focus. They did the top 3 players on the Rams, and they were basically like, this is all they have. All they have is Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, and Cooper Kupp. That's it.
How bad do they want to tank for Caleb Williams at some point, given the fact that right in their backyard at USC, Cardinals are winning that game. Cardinals are sweeping the Rams this year. I'll come out and say
All right, Pittsburgh +7. This is in the Steel City.
Pittsburgh -7.
+7 Niners coming to town week 15.
Yeah, I'll go Niners -7.
+6 Bears in the Windy City.
Trying to do a W with 2 fingers. Money line. Christmas Eve, baby. Get your Santa stockings out because we're going to beat that ass in Chicago.
The homecoming of sorts for Jonathan Gannon to the city of brotherly love.
I defer.
Philadelphia +11.5.
I can tell you right now, if they were to somehow not only cover but be competitive in this game, that would tell you everything you need to know about JG and company.
Like Cardinals fans by that point are going to start gearing up probably for the 2024 offseason and draft and start, obviously the college football playoff will be in full swing.
What about the playoff for the Cardinals in 2022?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not looking with an eye forward to that. But Philly, those savages over there, they will never forget. They are elephants. They will never forget. They are going to they have this circle on their calendar. They have a hatred for Jonathan Gannon. And we're going to make, oh, yeah, I forgot. Philadelphia hates the Cardinals head coach. And it just means more to them. But 11.5 is such a big spread.
They're an easy team to fade this year. They lost both coordinators. They lost their heir apparent to JG on the defensive side. They're the easiest team to fade, and I think they win 9 games, but that's going to be one of them. And I do think they cover because that's their Super Bowl at that point.
That's their Super Bowl. I mean, it's such a large spread. I think you take them 11.5 right now, and Saul Bookman is just leering over your shoulder. Let's wrap up this season. +4 Seattle in Arizona.
W. Money line.
Seahawks probably playing for something at that point.
Money line, baby. I'm back on Cardinals win 6-7 games. I go up and down. Oh man, don't do that. Don't do that to my. Listen, I just like the spunk. I like the heart of this team. I like the cut of their jib, if you will, as our friends at FOCO. If you haven't seen it, heard it, read about it, checked them out online, FOCO is the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, love me some toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear in all of sports and fandom. Get that stuff out of here that looks like great value Walmart stuff. Get the FOCO stuff, the stuff that I use in my background, Bo Brock's got in his living room. It's decor to impress, utilizing your favorite sports teams in FOCO. They always have our back here in Arizona, and they've got yours too. Get the best gear around by visiting FOCO.com and using that promo code PHNX for all non-presale items, mind you. PHNX 10% off. Slam that promo code now. Go get yourself a bobblehead, a jacket, a pennant, whatever you want. Do it with our friends at FOCO.
Celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary, my wife.
Oh, congratulations!
And, I think I was grasping for a gift. I think FOCO is going to answer that bell. Don't you think? I just show up.
I'm going to say right now, maybe pump the brake. Maybe she should do that for you.
Yeah.
You would do that for her. That's like my buddy who once upon a time said he was going to propose at a Detroit Lions game.
Oh, no.
And I said, you know what? Rethink that. Rethink that.
Did he do it anyway?
No, he didn't do it. They're
good.
happily married.
Yes, there you go.
They're expecting their 4th child because he didn't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe instead I'll take her to Four Peaks, because you can't go wrong with Four Peaks. The menu, the daily specials are elite. And, of course, the brewing that they do on site at their 8th Street location. You can't touch it. They've got the flagship. How about Kilt Lifter? They got the Kilt Lifter in the bourbon aged barrel. It's unbelievable what they have. They're doing there with those bourbon barrels from Kentucky that they purchased. And they're putting all their great brews in there. Also, they've got all their IPAs. If you're an IPA person, check out what they have going on as far as that selection goes. And then they've got all the certain just seasonal things that they get their staycation beer already launched, and you can figure out what's going on, all their new products, by following them on Instagram at Four Peaks Brew. And right now, you can win 4 seats to a Diamondbacks game. So how about you get 4 Peaks, 4 seats. One lucky winner will get 4 seats to an upcoming Diamondbacks game with D-Bucks. Yeah, can't go wrong there. Go sit in the Four Peaks tap room, drink that delicious beer, and have a great time at a Diamondbacks game. Check out Four Peaks Brew. You can only sign up to win those tickets right there at Four Peaks Brew on Instagram. The link is in the bio. Got to be 21 years or older to drink Four Peaks and do it responsibly.
We're so blessed. We get to hang out at Four Peaks and watch Monty Ossenford heist the Houston Texans. We get to hang out at BetMGM Sportsbook. Drinking Four Peaks at the Great Lawn State Farm Stadium. There's so many good vibes right now with BetMGM Sportsbook that the Cardinals have to be better than last year. We're going to manifest that every single Sunday we're here at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. Final thoughts. You had OTAs this week. You were out there hanging and banging with the team. You're going to be out there next week. Will Budda Baker show up when it becomes mandatory TBD? Give me one major takeaway that you saw this week from maybe a young Arizona Cardinal.
Paris Johnson is going to be right tackle. Is that fair? And Zaven Collins is moving to a pass rush role. I don't think that, and that's something that we've banged the drum on quite a bit the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Yelda Frodeholt seems like he's posed to be your center.
Yeah.
And we said it earlier in the show. Clayton Tune, I think, is somebody that the Cardinals want to outright win a job on this team. Now, I know things changed a little bit as far as carrying 3 quarterbacks, as far as league rules, and it might play to the favor of Tune, being QB3, but I think they want him to contend and win that job.
Paris Johnson Jr. should be put at tackle and never leave tackle. Yeah. I love DJ Humphries for what he's done. He's been the best tackle that they've drafted and developed, in my lifetime, which is not saying a lot, but it's time to hand the baton over. Where is Kelvin Beachum, by the way?
It's a good question. I know he's doing a lot of things philanthropically, but look, if you want to endear yourself to a new coaching staff, I know there's time for it, but right now there's relationships being made in the locker room, in the weight room, on the playing field, and I think it's not nothing that he's not here.
I agree with that, and I also think maybe they did bring him back. Maybe they said we're going to take a tackle. They take Paris Johnson Jr. Hey, Kelvin, we're going to give Paris every opportunity to win this job. You come in and be that mentor. Wouldn't hate that. I think that'd be a great. It reminds me once upon a time they drafted Dan Williams. They had Brian Robinson at nose tackle, and they said just be a mentor. And I think the Cardinals paying Kelvin Beachum, be frank, in NFL terms, it's next to no money. He has no guaranteed money. Let Paris Johnson Jr. have every opportunity to play tackle, his natural position. And I think make some big strides in 2023. You don't want to have him rip that Band-Aid off in 2024.
No, you don't. I think it just kind of puts you a little bit behind the 8 ball. And when the expectations as far as winning football games, I know it is. It's not for Gannon and his staff and the players in that locker room, but are they going to be? Can they truly compete on a week-to-week basis in the NFL? The expectations are not where they even were a year ago. They're much lower. To contend, those aren't the expectations. To find out, who you want to move forward with, those are the expectations. And so the pressure is off to where you can certainly develop guys and let them make mistakes on the playing field. In Paris Johnson Jr.'s case, as long as it's not detrimental to his development, as long as he isn't creating bad habits, then perfect. Let him go out there and play.
Cheers to my co-host's wedding anniversary tonight.
Fun.
He and his lovely wife, Haley. Cheers to all of our friends here at BetMGM letting us hang out for the duration of today. It's a first Friday.
Johnny.
Yeah.
There's no way that you just cheers Bo and then didn't take a sip and set your glass down.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
a bad omen.
Listen, this is mostly just backwash at this point.
It's his wedding anniversary.
Get it together,
If things don't work out now, then you can come back to this day.
Johnny.
I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. We've enjoyed a banner day here at BetMGM, Bo Brack.
It's going to be great. The Cardinals are going to be playing losing football season. I'm going to be going through a divorce. And it's all your fault.
Well, I'll be here hanging out. You should hang out with us.
Because you didn't take a sip out of your damn beer. How many beer faux pas can one guy make on one show?
I'm a Capri Sun guy, as you know.
Certainly are.
Like and subscribe, but leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcasts. Come hang out every first Friday of the month here at BetMGM Sportsbook. For Bo Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you next week.